Once again to this important day that we shall be having our weekly presentation that comes up, and I want to take this moment to thank you again for tuning into this channel. Today we shall be looking at understanding your growth process, and this presentation is brought to you by Co Donald Vichas, and our general theme for understanding your growth process, we shall be tailoring a topic of discussion today on how to measure your personal growth. The topic of today is how to measure your personal growth under the theme understanding your growth process. Growing up as a child, I used to think that trees or objects by the roadside always move each time I am in the car. And there are moments in my life as a child too that I used to play under the rain. I used to run around, used to do a lot of things. And 10 years ago, 5 years ago, there were a lot of things that I did that I no longer do it today. And of course, such as wearing of the same clothes or wearing of the kind of dresses, the way I used to think, the way I used to do a lot of things. And 5 years ago, I no longer do the same things. And that can be for you too, meaning that something has changed. I mean, like if you want to evaluate yourself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you realize that there are certain things that you no longer do now that you used to do 5 years ago. And understanding how to measure your growth process as a person, as a student, as a youth leader, as a professional, it becomes very important. Why? Because it helps you to understand your present moment and how to continuously grow towards the goals, towards life, and mature as a person. Remember, life as a process, it's like life is a gradual process, and understanding your growth process becomes very important in order for you to identify those challenging moments, those difficult moments that can help you overcome or help you become better each time you find or you face with difficulties. Now, it is important to learn these abilities and to understand how it impacts your life, and I will be tailoring the discussion on your personal self, how it becomes an internal need for you, for what you need for your growth comes from within you. Yes, it is the things that happens in you that determines how you measure your growth process. Now, someone once told me that money stops nonsense and money makes you successful. That is a statement made by someone who made huge sums of money, especially from network marketing. I may not have the capacity to determine the validity of that statement because I am not yet there. I will soon be there someday, and that will be when I will get to understand whether it is right or wrong. Now, standing on the point of view or where I am standing on this presentation is the domain where you, as a startup, building from a foundation, building from the foundation and hoping for a bigger breakthrough in the future. This is where I am looking at how you get to measure your growth process, and more of what you actually need, like I earlier said, and I'm still saying it, is determined from within you. So money is important and money will help you pursue your goals. But the fact that a lot of people get to measure success looking at money, to me, I think it comes maybe the last. Why? Because if I have seen those who have lost businesses, who have had accidents, maybe fire have those fire have burned their businesses, those who have made accidents and they have lost huge sums of money, and yet one thing that they had was deep within them. Things that were within them kept them moving. And now, this is where I am coming from. People who have lost money, people who are still starting up their careers, their businesses, people who are still building from the base. These are the people who, after believing in what they have in them, can actually move sustainably, and why not gain the possibility of achieving that financial breakthrough. And now, how you get to measure your personal growth becomes so important. Why? Because even if the money is not there, does not mean that you are not growing, you are not succeeding, you are not achieving your life purpose. Now, made up the presentation. This will make up the presentation of our of this discussion today. Now let's move to how you can be able to measure your growth process. How you can be able to measure your growth process. Remember, I earlier said most of what you need comes from within. Now, the first point is know what powers your habits. Know what powers your habit. This becomes very important. Why? Because before someone develops a particular habit in a domain, it comes from these frequent moods. This is something that a lot of us should be able to understand. Your moods, that's which permits you to feel in a particular way. So these are the feelings you have within a day, which can be your passion, the ability for you to be excited, your anxiety, the ability for you to be happy, anger, jealous, sadness. These are various moods that occur once a while in one's life, especially within a day, and it happens unconsciously. And with this, the more you pay more attention to this feeling, the more you are able to control your habits. Now, the challenge here is if you are not able to actually know when you are angry, when you are jealous, it becomes a problem. For you to be able to measure your growth as a professional, as a startup, as a student, as a youth leader, you should be able to understand that each time you are faced with negative moods such as jealousy, anger, you know that it automatically influences your subconscious mind. And what do? You grow in you measure your growth in consciously making sure that you do not allow these behaviors, these attitude, or these feelings to influence your habits. Because the more you get to permit jealousy, anger, envy, which are the feelings that you have as a result of your present mood, it leads to the habits that you develop, and the habits become the habit becomes your attitude, which gradually revolve into your behavior, and before you know it, it defines your lifestyle, it becomes your character. So when you get to find yourself in a negative situation and you consciously know how to get the jealousy, anger, envy out of your path, and you intentionally institute, or you intentionally put in the passion, you put in the desire, you put in happiness, you put in positive vibes towards what you are building, no matter the negative, the challenges, the hard moments, then you are able to grow positively. And of course, if you can constantly evaluate how you do this is when you will be able to measure your growth process. Not like somebody who always during bad moments will think of taking alcohol. Now you ask yourself, what is the benefit of alcohol? Why should you take alcohol? What can be come of you after drinking the alcohol. A lot of people fail to know that after the problem, after drinking alcohol to get out of their negative situations, they actually go back into depression. So the ability for you to be able to distinguish between the negative and the positive, and you know that what you intentionally institute in your life, like I earlier said, growth is internal. So if you can be able to identify these internal happenings, you will be able to shape and power your habit positively. Now, the second point that we shall be at is for you to be willing to fail and make mistakes. The ability for you to be able to fail and make mistakes. Your growth process can be measured by the number of lessons you are able to learn from a particular failure over time. The more you get to learn from your failures, maybe as an MC, like I used to do MC from one occasion to another, and I realized that each time I always MC an occasion, I always find out that there are a lot of mistakes that I made, and through those mistakes I would be able to derive new strategies. And now, how do you measure your failures and you are able to grow? When you are able to accept the fact that failures are not fatal, failures are not the end of your journey, failures does not actually kill you, though it pains when you fail. You get to evaluate these failures by continuously learning from the mistakes and determining how you get to grow in that particular domain by you sitting down, taking out a pen and a piece of paper or a book, and you are writing the failures, the things that made you to fail in that particular domain, and you get to evaluate how you can learn from that domain where you are building. Someone once said it is good as a young person to continuously fail. I mean, like, you get to fail fast in order to learn, such that when you become mature, when you become a master of what you are doing, you will be able to understand that the lessons came from your failure. And the challenge is, are you willing to fail? Are you willing to make mistakes? Through this, then that is when your lessons or your ability to measure your growth can come in. Now, the third point that we shall be looking at is for you to be able to focus, how you focus your consciousness. How you focus your consciousness. Since growth is a process, and of course, which is gradual, it becomes so relevant for you to consciously focus on the things that you understand that it builds you forward. How do I mean? When you know that you are growing and when you focus on the journey and not the destination, you will be able to measure the various things that helps you grow in your life, in your career. So if you are constantly focusing on the journey, you will know that there are a lot of things that you will learn. There are a lot of things that you will unlearn. There are a lot of things that you will relearn. And this will help you measure your capacity as a person as you constantly grow. But if you continuously focus on the destination, what will limit your growth process will be the fact that you have this arrival mindset. You believe that you have already made it, and of course, which is not bad though, but if you reach at that level and constantly focusing on the journey, then you should be conscious on setting new goals in order to constantly grow, in order to constantly become better when you are focusing on the journey. And of course, you get to know that you are lacking in these various skills, you are lacking in this particular training. You can acquire this particular certification and improving on yourself, improving on your health, improving on your mindset, As such, this is how you get to measure your growth process, by focusing on the journey and not the destination. The last but not the least point is you becoming your best supporter. When you become your best supporter, you understand that people get it wrong. You get it wrong when you continuously seek validation, when you continuously seek the approval of others in order to take a particular move in your life. Remember, life is a process. Growth is a continuous process. And when you get to focus on people validating your ability to take on a particular task, you will find out that depression sets in. And now, how do you become your best supporter in order for you to evaluate or measure your growth? Each time you believe in yourself, each time you put in that support, you inspire your own self, you become the one who supports what you are building. You become your best fan, your best supporter. Each time you become that one person who accepts yourself. A lot of people get into depression. Why? Because they don't accept themselves. They don't accept the fact that they can be able to achieve this particular goal. And of course, when people get to talk down on you, you realize that the goals or the dreams that you are building becomes limited. Why? Because you have been limited by those you thought could support you. So the more you become your best supporter, you get to know your strength, you get to know your weaknesses, and you work on those weaknesses in order to become better. If you focus on others, it becomes challenging for you to identify these sports. Of course, there are external supports that will get, like coaches, like mentors, who can help you look at what you're doing outside to determine how you feel inside. So before you get external support, you should be able to understand the inspiration within you, the energy, the fire, the passion within you that helps you grow forward. And of course, this helps you measure your growth process as a professional, as a student, as a young youth leader, as a young person. And of course, people building during challenging moment, when the finances is not there, when the challenge, when difficulties are there, you should understand that you are a work in progress. Now, conclusively, you become mature at what you are building when you keep seeking new ways to do things differently. And of course, like I earlier said in one of the slides, as we were looking at the topic, how to measure your growth process, and we have been validating, or we have been examining the various ways what powers your habits, what are you willing to fail, are you willing to make mistakes, and now what is your focus, are you focused on the journey? So when you understand these various things, you will then see that the more you get to focus on building forward, this is when you get to know the moments that you fail and you learn, and these tools becomes a learning process for you. And of course, becoming aware of who you are and constantly evaluating how you are able to impact others, how you are able to build your life forward, how you are able to become valuable one day at a time. Remember, someone once said, you can only become better. Thank you so much for following. For this presentation was brought to you by Ku Donald Vichas, your productivity strategist. Thank you so much once again. And I'm really pleading, if you are just new to my YouTube channel and if you find this content valuable, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more weekly updates or uploads, as you will continue to build forward. And of course, you can share your thoughts, you can comment, and of course, you can, through your comments, you can suggest how we can improve on the lives of others. Remember, it can only get better together for the love of humanity. Thank you once again, for I am so grateful.